The days of the workhorse style running back are dead. They're gone. They're far behind us. NFL teams are getting cheaper at the position, and they aren't going to give one guy just that many snaps. They aren't just going to keep handing them the ball and risking injury to these guys that they're paying millions of dollars. And the Cincinnati Bengals are one of the few teams actually ahead of the curve on this. And we're going to talk about it on No Buts About It. Now, the team that I would argue had perfected this is easily the Detroit Lions. And they did it last season. David Montgomery, they brought him in, and people were like, okay, he's not very elusive. He wasn't great on his previous team with the Chicago Bears, but maybe he'll be okay with the Detroit Lions. And then all of a sudden, without warning, the Detroit Lions decided in the first round to take a guy who'd been projected as a second round pick. And that is Jahmyr Gibbs. And people were like, well, you just signed this guy, David Montgomery. What are you doing? And what they were doing is what every other NFL team should be doing. They knew that they had David Montgomery. They knew what David Montgomery was. They knew he was a strong, big guy who can run up the middle, is reliable, not great when it comes to agility, though. And that's just the fact of the matter. With size comes lack of speed. However, Jahmyr Gibbs is the exact opposite. Jahmyr Gibbs is elusive. Jahmyr Gibbs is quick, and he can be relied on as well. They are both good. They're both great players in different ways. They're different players that when they come together, it complements each other. Now, the Bengals are doing the exact same thing. They went after Zack Moss. Zack Moss is a running back who is underappreciated, frankly, in the NFL. He was with the Buffalo Bills. Then he went to the Indianapolis Colts. And he did fairly well when Jonathan Taylor was out during his, contract negotiation. That was a really weird situation overall. But Zack Moss, while Jonathan Taylor was out, averaged 20 attempts per game. He on the season, he had 744 yards. He had 4.3 yards per attempt and 5 touchdowns rushing. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor coming back does kind of hurt those stats. And Jonathan Taylor is one of those few workhorse running backs that I would consider still being around. It would be Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey off the top of my head. So a lot of people are going to say Derrick Henry, and I'm not sure. Derrick Henry, I could see being put into a situation where he's still getting the majority of the carries. But I think in Baltimore, Keaton Mitchell also made a strong case for himself last season. And Justice Hill is also still in Baltimore. And yes, he's not fantastic, but John Harbaugh does like to use him. So I could see Derrick Henry kind of seeing a lesser snap count than expected. We'll see what Baltimore does, but we're not going on a deep dive into the Baltimore Ravens. We're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. So let's just first look at Zack Moss's film. And first thing we're going to look at here is Zack Moss running up the middle. He is just quick. He is fast when he runs up that A gap. He's able to make some guys miss. And he has some breakaway speed, but that's not where his strength is. But I didn't want to come out and only talk about this next thing and have people think that I'm saying, oh, Zack Moss can only run up the A gap on short yardage situations, because I don't believe that. But I do think Zack Moss's strength is in these types of plays. He finds the hole and then he bulldozes through the hole and gets to the end zone. Let's rewatch that play again. He sees the hole, and then that's all he wants. He wants that hole, and he drives that pile for 4 or 5 extra yards to get the touchdown. That's the type of player the Bengals love. They love those heavy grit, blue collar, I want every yard I can get type players. And Zack Moss brings that to the table. Now, let's compare that to Chase Brown. Chase Brown, his speed is even greater than Zack Moss's. Look at this. He's going to run around all those guys, all those Jaguars players. They didn't have a chance at catching him. And then he's going to do the same thing to the Browns here. He makes that guy miss. And then he's going to outrun these next few guys here. I'm going to replay that because I think it kind of lagged out a little bit. I want you guys to see this man's speed, and you'll get to see this Jaguars play once again. There he goes. There he goes. And then watch this first Browns player. Boom. Throws him into the dirt. That is speed right there. That is Chase Brown. However, Chase Brown doesn't
understanding it wouldn't be as easy as
have great leg strength. And this can be worked on in the weight room. Zack Moss definitely has him beat here. Chase Brown usually goes down around the first time a guy hits him. And yeah, that's not great. Getting hit behind the line a little too often for my liking, Chase Brown. But hey, he was a rookie last season and things can be improved upon. And that's honestly something that can be worked on in the weight room. And I said I didn't want people thinking that Zack Moss can only run up the A gap. I didn't want people thinking Zack Moss can't do all the things he needs to do as a running back. So here's a play of Zack Moss running the C gap, and it's going very slow on my screen. I don't know why, but we're going to rewind that so that you guys can actually see it. See, he's going to make these corners and safeties, and I think maybe a linebacker drop down as well. Miss. And there's 4 guys chasing after Zack Moss. I'll replay that one more time. He runs that C gap, runs around these guys, beats the guy to the edge, makes his turn to get yardage. And that play honestly should have been stopped by this first corner right here. But Zack Moss is able to beat him to the edge as that corner tries to set the edge and make Zack Moss run out of bounds. But the corner fails, and Zack Moss makes him pay. Another guy who's really good at that, Chase Brown. He's going to catch, and he's going to beat all these guys. All these guys drop down. Chase Brown ran by him. He's going to do it again on this play. He sees the guys, and he just runs around them. He makes them miss, and he gets as many yards as he can. This play, not so much, but he gets the first down. That's the goal. Gets a lot of manufactured yards on screens, but hey, it works out for the best. Now, so this video, my point is teams are going to keep getting cheaper at the position. And we hear a lot about running back competitions. We hear about different players doing different things. But why haven't we combined the two? This is a competition to see who's just going to get like 20 more snaps on the season, I think. I think Zack Moss is going to be the RB1 on the depth chart, but I think we're going to see a lot of Chase Brown. And I think we're going to see Chase Brown used in a lot of different ways that we won't see Zack Moss used. Zack Moss is a better pass protector than Joe Mixon is. And that's just a fact. I love Joe Mixon. I wish Joe Mixon the best in Houston. But the fact is the Bengals need to protect Joe Burrow. Joe Mixon isn't the best pass protecting running back. Zack Moss is a better pass protector. Also, the Bengals were able to get cheaper at the position. If you go and look at the Houston Texans contract they gave Joe Mixon, it's $25 million for 3 years, $16 million guaranteed. Do you know what the Bengals are paying Zack Moss? And this is signed in the same contract year. Zack Moss is younger than Joe Mixon by quite a few years. And again, Joe Mixon is arguably a higher tier, but that workhorse style running back that Joe Mixon is phasing out. It's not working anymore. So the Bengals came and they paid Zack Moss $8 million across 2 years, $3 million guaranteed. And I'm pretty sure all that $3 million guaranteed are in the first year. So really, if the Bengals want it to be, this could be a 1-year rental for $3 million. Worst case scenario. But it averages out to $4 million a year. And his total contract with all the incentives and everything is half of what Joe Mixon's guarantees in Houston are. The Bengals actually did something really smart here. This is a great move. And you're going to see people arguing. You're going to see people arguing Chase Brown should be the wide running back 1. You're going to see people saying Zach Moss should be the running back 1. I think they both are going to be the RB1 in specific situations. Pass protection, Zach Moss. Zach Moss is going to be your guy you want out there. A catch and run, probably Chase Brown. Chase Brown is more elusive. He's quicker. He's faster. The comparison I would use for these two, if you're looking at Zach Moss and Chase Brown and what kind of playing styles to expect from them, is Zach Moss is going to be the Bengals David Montgomery type player that runs up the A gap, that can run the C gap, that can catch and run if he needs to, but specializes in driving the pile. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to, or Chase Brown is going to be your Jahmyr Gibbs type player who can run up the A gap, but shouldn't run up the A gap because he's tiny. He's smaller. He'd still beat me, be able to tackle me probably, but he's a smaller guy. And those defensive tackles in the NFL are big. Those 3-tech defensive tackles. I mean, think about like Tavondre Sweat's a rookie, and that boy's huge down in Tennessee. The Bengals are ahead of the curve on this, and we see it all around the league. I mentioned that the Baltimore Ravens might be another team to look for in doing this. The Miami Dolphins did this with Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert. I could see the 49ers looking into this if Elijah Mitchell is able to stay healthy. A lot more teams are moving towards this playing style. We've seen it succeed in Detroit. And if you can get cheaper at a position, NFL owners love to do that, especially with as expensive as these wide receiver and quarterback contracts are becoming. If you get cheaper at a position and moneyball this thing, then they're going to. This is the way the NFL is going. And we're here to witness it. And the Bengals are ahead of the curve on it. So, like it or not, Zach Moss isn't the running back 1 in Cincinnati. Chase Brown isn't the running back 1 in Cincinnati. They are being used to combine together to create a running back 1 duo in Cincinnati. And that's what I mean by it's creating more starting positions. It's not creating an extra roster spot, but teams are willing to dedicate an extra roster spot to the running back position if it means getting solid production for cheaper out of that room. There has to be another position that gets cut for it. It'll probably be a wide receiver, like 5-6 type guy, maybe a cornerback. We'll see what happens, but I really do believe this is where the league is going. We can do a deeper dive into this later on if you want to. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Do you think the league should continue to kind of move in this direction of chasing running back committee style offenses? Do you think that I am right in saying that the Zach Moss, Chase Brown tandem will kind of look like that, where Zach Moss becomes a gap type guy and Chase Brown's your more elusive type guy, similar to the Detroit Lions offense? As always, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, go do something nice for someone.